my name is Janine Nodder, and this is Chattin' with Janine. The topic this week is veterans and motorcycles. And with me is Jim Moody of Veterans Count and Traci Beaurivage, the president of the New Hampshire Motorcycle Rights Organization. So welcome, Jim and Traci.
Thank you,
Thank you very much.
I have to disclose, I'm Italian and I talk with my hands and it makes my jacket crinkle, so I'm going to try very hard to suppress the Italian side of me today.
No crinkling.
No crinkling. So tell me about Veterans Count.
So Veterans Count is a program of Easter Seals, New Hampshire. It has been around since approximately 2007, I believe. It actually evolved from a partnership between Easter Seals and the New Hampshire Army National Guard. If people remember, back in the early 2000s, there was a major mobilization, because of the war in Iraq. And approximately half of the Army National Guard units were deployed to Iraq. And there were a lot of Vietnam veterans on the board of Easter Seals. And they started talking with the Guard leadership about, when soldiers come back, they're probably going to need some services. They're going to need potentially counseling. They may need financial assistance. So a public-private partnership was developed. Easter Seals basically got a contract for 3 years to provide counseling services. So there was some fundraising being done, and basically assist soldiers in whatever they needed to reassimilate when they returned back from Iraq or Afghanistan. That contract, unfortunately, was terminated due to some political reasons. But the board members felt so strongly that this program should continue, and that program, as it existed, only focused on post 9/11 veterans. So the Easter Seals board said, there's a lot of veterans out there, Vietnam, Korea, even World War II veterans that are still alive that potentially need assistance. So that's how Veterans Count was formed. Basically to assist those individuals that maybe were falling under the radar and not getting the attention they needed.
So I'm a state representative, and my first 2 terms, my committee was Veterans Affairs. So you say veterans, I don't know, they're both correct. I remember Al Baldessaro, my chairman at the time, always said veterans, and I always said veterans. So I think you can use the 2 pronunciations
Absolutely.
Interchangeably. But we did hear a lot about veterans issues and PTSD. I can get the signal that I'm crinkling. I'm trying not to crinkle. Okay. So that's how I know Traci, because Traci, I've seen you up at the State House many times testifying on different bills. So what can you tell me about the New Hampshire Motorcycle Rights Organization?
So that was, it started in the early 1970s, around 1974, when the government, and this is just whatever, decided to have mandate sanctions that said if you don't have helmet laws, that we will take, we will not give you federal monies. And a lot of states got together, including New Hampshire, and basically had rallies and said, you can't hold us hostage for helmet. And of course, back in the 70s, it was fight the man, and that's that's the old motorcycle mantra way back.
Live free or die.
Right, live free or die. And that's how it actually started. And it was a group of motorcyclists that got together that wanted to do more for motorcycling. But it wasn't just about the helmet, it was about education. So one of the big things with New Hampshire Motorcycle Rights Organization is we've been a huge proponent. We actually helped start the New Hampshire Riders Safety Education Program, which is where like Larry Crow and the Department of DMV are involved, and they actually do the instructions for riders to have their M endorsement. So you don't just go take, the licensing part of it. You actually go for a 2 or 3 day course, learn how to ride, and find out if you should ride, because that's important. There's people that actually have taken classes that get off at the end of the thing and realize they should not be riding a motorcycle. It's not for everybody, and we've been a huge proponent of that. So it's more about education over legislation, and not because we don't necessarily like laws. We want to be able to have choices and rights and do what we think is best for us. Motorcycling is, and Jim can attest. So Jim actually, I sit on the chapter with Jim for Veterans Count, but Jim is also a member and a volunteer for NHMRO. our big thing is that most motorcyclists don't ride to ride. It's part of who we are. It's part of it's a lifestyle. It's in your blood. Your motorcycle is not a vehicle. It's part of you. And
like in the
it's just
military, your
different.
weapon is part
It
of
is.
you.
It absolutely is. And that's what a lot of people who've never ridden don't understand, which is why motorcyclists are so passionate about what we fight for and what we believe in, because it is our way of life. And right now, we're fighting the whole thing with the internal combustion engine because we don't have motorcycles that are going to have, the battery, the electric part of it. And if they do make one, which they do with a live wire right now, which is made by Harley, they have it's more like a crotch rocket type motorcycle. And for someone like Jim or myself who ride touring bikes, with the big saddlebags, the whole thing, we're not going to have an existence in the future if we don't try to keep something for us with the internal combustion engine. So we fight a lot of different fronts. It's fighting for education, fighting for rights, pushing to do the right things. We have a lot of veterans that are involved with NHMRO too. As a matter of fact, motorcycling actually was started by the veterans way back in the day.
Way back after World War II.
Yes.
Yeah, I've got lots of things going off in my head because you were talking about the riding class, and I have a son he's a captain in the Air Force now, but when he was still a teenager, I said, "Where are you going?" He goes, "Oh, I'm taking a riding class." I'm like so proud of my son. I thought he was going to take a class to learn how to write, so write. And then he comes back. I said, with a Harley. I'm like, what? I thought you were taking a writing class. No more writing class.
We should be proud of him for doing that too.
Absolutely.
Because there's a lot of people that, and nothing against Jim, but there's a lot of gentlemen. There's more male riders in the whole country than there are female, and female are coming up more.
Because our hair.
It's I like my hair.
Yeah.
That's how I judge it.
What do you do about helmet hair?
I only wear a helmet if I'm in a state where I have to, or if I'm on the highway for a long period of time, because that just beats the crap right out of you. But I personally grew up riding motorcycles. I started when I was 4 on a dirt bike in South Carolina. I got a motorcycle when I was 14 and a half, 15 years old, and didn't tell my mom and dad because I had a boyfriend who had a motorcycle and I wanted one. And I kept it at his house. But for me, the freedom of, there's something extremely therapeutic and freeing about riding a motorcycle. And just to feel it, to hear it, to smell it, and to be in that environment. It's just, I don't know how to explain it because if you're not a motorcyclist, but I do judge a good haircut by how my hair looks when I get off the motorcycle.
Well, I like how
too,
you're color coordinated with the nails, the lipstick, and the hair, purple tones, and then the skulls. That's what that is on your shirt. Love it. Yeah. I wore the leather jacket for you guys today.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
So, and then the other thing that came to mind is the helmets, because so every once in a while there's a bill in the State House to make motorcyclists wear helmets.
Yes.
And when I first started my show in 2006, one of the first shows I did was with the Nam Knights.
Yep.
And I thought, and when I saw that bill, I'm like, oh, you're not getting helmets on the Nam Knights. No, these men fought in a war. It's not going to go over well. And that Representatives Hall was full. It was full of you were probably there too.
It continues to be. We had one a few years ago too, and we had well over 400 people. And we had not just motorcyclists. We have bicyclists that come that support the right to choose whether you wear a helmet or not. And we're not against helmets. We're just for the right to choose
personal choice.
riding. No different than you can choose if you want to smoke or eat Twinkies and be diabetic. We try to educate people on riding the ride that's best for them as well. Mm-hmm. So you don't get a motorcycle that's too big. You care about what you're doing with your speed. I am a huge proponent. I will always wear boots and jeans because I have been down on a bike before. This part of me is what I get concerned about. But because it's a lifestyle, it's not a vehicle, a point of transportation. And don't get me wrong, some people do use it to go back and forth during all of the pandemic, the COVID years. We saw a huge rise in people buying motorcycles, and because of gas and being able to get around easier. So for some people it might be that, but for the brunt of us, it's a lifestyle. So to change us and to make us do something just because is not what we want.
And it's definitely more of a lifestyle in the United States versus other countries. In other countries, it is a mode of transportation.
Right.
And the U.S. actually is the least populous number of motorcyclists in the world, even though New Hampshire ourselves are one of the highest in the states. But around the world, I mean, they're all smaller bikes. And you see them all the time. Anytime you watch a news program of any foreign country, that there are tons of motorcyclists, small motorcycles, because that is their mode of transportation. With mostly in the United States, and not all, but and I'm sure that the percentage is probably well over 90% that it is a toy, but it's provides a level of enjoyment. You connect with your family, your friends, your comrades in arms. You can travel anywhere, anytime, and it's just it's fun. It is. I mean, that's why I got into it.
What do you ride?
I ride a Harley, mostly Harleys throughout my career. I did, or through my riding career, I did just get off a BMW motorcycle, but I'm back on a Harley right now. My wife rides as well. She rides a Harley. It's funny because some people discriminate. Oh, if you ride a Honda or this or that, I don't care what you ride. Just ride something.
What do you ride, Traci?
I actually ride a Harley too. I bought a 2020, and I love my Harley. Originally I had an Indian. I love the old Indians.
I was going to ask about Indians.
I love the old,
there's a movie about an Indian motorcycle, and I can't remember who was in the movie, but he burned his leg. It cooked his leg.
Oh, well.
Probably Anthony Hopkins.
The exhaust,
Anthony Hopkins.
The exhaust can get a little hot, even on the Harleys,
yes.
Which is another reason we have one of the pieces of legislation, and you probably remember this, or maybe not, but was being able to have a right to repair and a right to choose how we change our motorcycles. So a lot of people get frustrated with motorcyclists being loud, and we do in our state have J2825, which explains exactly how loud your motorcycle can be.
I do remember that bill, because when I was a new mother, I didn't like loud motorcycles, but then sitting in the house, I'm like, well, if the motorcycles are not loud and you're driving a car, you can't hear them, and that's dangerous. What do you do if you hit somebody? Did you have to live with that you killed somebody?
Well, and it helps us too if we're riding later at night and you've got animals. That noise will, but we also have to, and I want to speak directly to the riders right now, we have to be respectful when we ride. The brunt of motorcyclists are very respectful, but they're like everything else. There's always good and bad. There are motorcyclists that will rev their motorcycle very loud when they're going through small towns, and I want to remind motorcyclists to be respectful, which kind of leads me into, we started a Ride Smart program, which means you ride safely, maturely, aware, respectfully, and trained. Safely being, you ride sober, you get your tires checked, you get your brakes checked. Maturely is you don't get on a motorcycle and act like a jerk. You ride to your ability, and you don't do things that you shouldn't do because you're not in a stunt show, you're on the road riding. Aware is being aware of your surroundings, aware of the cars that are on the side of you, what the road debris might look like, what the temperature is, if it's going to rain. Respectfully, a huge one, is being respectful to each other, but being respectful to other road users, which we ask that they do the same to us. It's funny how many times motorcycles get cut off because a lot of drivers just don't care. It's not even that they don't, some of them don't see us, but a lot of times they'll look at you and they'll still do it anyway. We don't have the ability, we don't have something big around us, but we don't have the ability to stop like y'all do. Or if we do, we might be going over or we might be going down. So we need to be respectful around each other. And then the T is for trained, because we really push being trained. And we push even our older drivers, and I don't mean old, going back and getting advanced classes and taking, honing up a little bit on your skills. Because when you've ridden as long as both of us have,
that's important.
You don't want to say you have bad habits, because I don't have any bad habits. But
none of us
do. You start to, you ride more comfortably, and you probably take a little more things that you would probably not pay attention. And it's good to go back and regroup and realize what you might be doing a little bit off, or how you should do something better. So being part of that, and really pushing the Ride Smart side of it. Last year we had 40 fatalities with the motorcycling community. It's the highest we've had in 2 decades. The brunt of it, unfortunately, was our own fault. So we can all say we want to have other people ride well, safe around us. And recently, we're up to 5 now already. Every time there's one, I get a text, I get an email, I get a call, and it's gut-wrenching to me, especially if it's somebody that I know. And it's awful no matter what, but it's awful. 2 people
on the same street that live near me, they both lost daughters in a motorcycle accident.
Yeah, it's awful. So we need to be, again, everybody, and one of the things, and we talk about this because it even goes back into like veterans count, the behaviors of people today, we need to be nicer to each other. We need to start caring more instead of being, you get on the roads and people drive and ride some motorcycles like they're the only person on the road and it doesn't matter and I'm in a hurry, I need to get where I'm going. And we've seen an influx of the rise in vehicle crashes and fatalities as well across the whole country. The whole country has been hit by this ever since the pandemic. And I think a lot of people kind of lost that social, that personal interaction that they should have and the respect for each other. And they lost it too with what they do for their communities, such as Veterans Count, and helping our veterans. And we have a lot, like so we have a lot of veteran riders, a lot of veteran clubs. And when you hear some of their stories, when they come back from where they've been, when I think about too, and you've seen the movies, the history, how even our Vietnam veterans were treated. A lot of our veterans are still not treated correctly. We still do them very poorly. And like Jim said, what's nice about Veterans Count is the outreach of that we've witnessed people getting a leg or an arm. We witnessed somebody get an iBot, which is the, how do I describe
Basically
that?
Basically a motorized wheelchair that can go up and down stairs.
And it can actually bring somebody standing up a little bit so they're almost
yes,
at
I've
eye
seen
contact.
those.
It was, developed by Dean Kamen.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and we helped do that. And I just got chill bumps. Being able to do these two things because they are closely related is just important. And like I said, but the big thing I want to drive home is the respect. Respect each other, learn to respect, have better behaviors. Everybody wants to go home. Make sure you're going home, but make sure that person beside you on the motorcycle, in the car, or the veteran is going to a home and they get to go home to their families because it's huge.
Mm-hmm. Rolling Thunder, sorry.
Go ahead. No.
Have you been part of that, Rolling Thunder?
They are part of NHMRO. I have not ever done, and I would love to.
Yeah, I've done two of those.
But you have,
Yep.
yes.
So tell the viewers what Rolling Thunder is.
So Rolling Thunder happens over Memorial Day weekend in Washington, D.C., and it's basically a ride from the Pentagon to the memorials in downtown D.C., the Vietnam Memorial, and of course everything, once you get down there, most of it's within walking distance. 400 to 800,000 motorcycles, participate every year. It is just an incredible experience. Again, I've done it twice, and it's just talk about.
It's very moving.
Yeah,
it's very moving.
I know several people who have been part of it.
Yeah.
My husband's Uncle John, and then the Nom Knights that I mentioned. Yeah. I don't know about the Speaker of the House is a motorcyclist, Sherm Packard,
Yes,
and so is Jason Osborne, the House Majority Leader. And then there's several others. When the weather's nice, you can go look at the parking garage, and there's a lot of motorcycles instead of cars. So,
yep, but yeah, Rolling Thunder is, and actually it's not. I apologize because there was an organization that was basically managing that ride, but it technically no longer exists.
Right, correct.
So I don't know if they technically call it Rolling Thunder now.
Because of COVID?
No.
No, it happened I think before that, but I was sent the information. I think it's still called Rolling Thunder, but I don't know who's actually
running
like you
it,
said.
in charge of it.
There's probably a lot of people watching this show, and they want to ride a motorcycle. They go, have that. What is the first thing they do? You said find a bike that fits you. Where do you go? Well, we can't do a call to action, but
well, I would say first, go take a class.
Yep.
Yeah,
Because
how do you get into a class?
So you can go on the
Couple
state
different ways.
website. I mean, there's public ones too that offer it. Harley out in Seacoast has a training class. Some of the schools have classes. So if you just put on, motorcycle classes in state of New Hampshire.
Okay, so internet search.
Yep. Because like I said, there's several different private ones. I should say.
The state
ones.
puts on training,
Yeah.
basic, beginner, and advanced. But there are also courses where, and you do have to pay a nominal fee for those. It's not much, but you can pay for more training, additional training through private organizations. My wife and I just signed up for one.
603 Pro Rider.
Pro Rider 603, and we're going to be doing that at the end of June. And Tracy's right. I took an advanced rider. I didn't take a basic skills course because it wasn't even offered. When I got my license in the early 80s.
You're old.
Yes, I am.
I'm only kidding.
And but so my wife and I just we had a motorcycle that we were able to train on. Took the test, we passed, and that was it. My wife didn't ride for 15 years. She just really didn't get into it. But then when she did and wanted to start riding again, she took a basic safety course, and it helped her tremendously. I've taken an advanced course through the state. And again, you can always sign up for more training. And Traci's right, and it's probably more heavily on the male side that we think, I've been riding for X number of years. It's one thing, riding at speed. It's another thing, riding 800 to 900 pound, machines in slow speeds and slow maneuvers and doing U-turns and tight turns. So
Or having somebody on the back of that.
Exactly.
What's the average age for new riders?
For new riders? I don't know. I can tell you the average age of riders is around 55. It's continuing to get old. Although
Were you born?
During-
You weren't born riding.
pandemic, yeah. Oh, I was born riding. I came out riding. My dad would tell you
I had
that.
She's only 40, so.
I had a friend on the show who, she's a marathoner, she does all 50 states. I went, yeah, you were just born running.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
so easy for her.
But some of it's born. Some of it is in your blood. Like I said, my dad would tell you that I came out, and there were certain things that I was going to do with my life, and that this
you
is
would
one
just
of
go
them.
like this.
It's I don't know
You
if
had a
it was
twitch.
what I was. What I was drawn. Well, and purple and black have been my favorite color my whole life. And so my dad always said, "Well, she's got the biker thing when
That's
I was
right.
little and I loved leather. When I was really little, I still love leather actually, but like what Jim was saying, to go back, so the training side of it, I think I said to you earlier, there'll be classes where people will get on, and they'll realize in that first day that they probably shouldn't be riding a motorcycle. It's about balance, but there's a lot to an 800-pound machine. My bike weighs that. And if you add another 100 or 150 pounds on the back of it, if you're a man, and now you add that person, and that person's body, anything they do can affect that motorcycle.
Oh, wow.
So a lot what I saw. So I went away for a little while of riding. I still have my M endorsement because I had a child, and I rode on the back of my husband's motorcycle and kind of just didn't ride my own motorcycle for a little while. So when I got back into riding again, I went and took the basic course just so I could know exactly what they're
Get a
teaching now,
refresher,
get a
yeah.
refresher, make sure that I was still okay to ride, like I said. And the first thing Larry Crow said to me was, "Oh my God, you obviously ride. Your body language said you've been riding a long time." I go, "Well, I have, but I haven't ridden in a few years." But watching the different people, and a lot of the people that came to that class had already gone out and bought a brand new full dresser 800 or 900 pound motorcycle, and they're taking the class, and they haven't ridden in 30 years, and they haven't been on a bike in 30 years, and it's very different. It's very different. And two of them realized that they were not meant to ride motorcycles and had to go back and sell their motorcycles. So my suggestion is cut the ego thing. Cut what's important. What's important is if you want to ride, go see if you are that person that should be riding, and then go find that motorcycle that works for you and fits for you.
So we have 3.5 minutes left. I told you this goes by really,
It does
really
go
fast. There was a bill, I believe the Speaker of the House was the sponsor, and I was a co-sponsor, a profiling bill.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yep, so we got that passed. What a lot of people think with profiling, especially where motorcycles are concerned, are that, and we've been called that, if you ride 3 or more with like outfits, so if a group of us ride with NHMRO sweatshirts on, by the
And just
government,
repeat what that stands for, because it's
New Hampshire Motorcycle Rights Organization,
okay.
we're considered kind of part of a gang, and motorcycle clubs are considered gangs. Like I was telling you, the brunt of the motorcycling community, most like probably 90-something% of the actual motorcycle clubs, most of them are veterans, or were veterans and are still veterans, what have you. There's doctors, there's lawyers, their whole thing. But I was profiled, and actually the Speaker of the House was actually profiled. I was profiled because I had on a vest that had a skull. I like skulls, and with purple hair, and riding in an area where I live. And the guy the police officer stopped me, but I didn't do anything wrong. And he just kept saying, well, so where are you going? You know, do you live around here? That kind of attitude. And I know it was because, you know, and it was just the way it was done. So profiling was important.
Just a
We're
biker chick.
profiled. Well, and like I said, there's a lot of doctors, lawyers. I mean, there's a lot of people that ride motorcycles that you wouldn't know unless you see them on a motorcycle. We come from all walks of life. So I'm an entrepreneur. You know, Jim was in the military and a business person
Thank you
for
for
a
your
long
service.
time. Yeah. So just because we ride motorcycles and we like leather and we might look a little, you know, with skulls or whatever else on, or we might have tattoo, you know, whatever, doesn't make us any different than anybody else. But people look at us sometimes very different. And one thing I want to leave you with that is motorcyclists do a lot for the community, just like we do with Veterans Count.
Absolutely.
They do a lot of charity rides.
Yeah,
They give
lot
a
of
lot
fundraising.
of fundraising. There's an organization that protects kids against child abuse, Bikers Against Child Abuse. Huge national organization, and the stuff that they do with the kids that have been abused by their parents or relatives it's mind-boggling. So we're good people. We just happen to like something that's wild and fun and crazy.
All right, and the last minute of the show this is lightning round. Favorite motorcycle movie?
Favorite motorcycle movie? The Great Escape.
And you?
I don't know. I like Easy Rider, sort of. The Great Escape is, I don't know.
I'm going with Wild Hogs.
That is an awesomely funny.
That is very funny.
And at the
movie.
end, it's like,
It's
thanks,
great.
America, we love our bar. The biker bar. Can you name who was in the movie? Let's see, it was
John Travolta.
John
was in it.
Travolta.
John
I was going to say
Travolta.
Vinnie Barbarino, but oh my gosh.
William H. Macy and
Yeah.
Tim Allen.
Tim Allen.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was a funny movie.
Yeah.
Yep. And Martin Lawrence.
Oh,
yes.
yeah, there was
Yeah.
4 of them, and they threw their phones away, which was really stupid.
Yep.
All right, thank you so much for being on the show today and
Thank
telling
you,
us
Janine,
about
for having us.
veterans
Absolutely.
and motorcycles.
Thank you for
and
having
I
us.
will see you around. And
Yeah, the purple-haired motorcycle lady will be in
yes,
Hampshire State House a
with
lot.
the matching lipstick. Yes. And thank you for watching.